role and impact on the development of the plan. So maybe this question could be the start of my lecture next time. Thank you.
Perhaps you can ask the floor. You can ask the question in Bahasa and I try to translate it for you. Is it okay? You mean you will explain in Dutch? Oh, that would be nice. Any questions in Bahasa? Perhaps you can express in Bahasa. Okay.
My name is Carolina. I would like to ask you about which part of the plan, the most difficult part, when you setting up a plan. That's one question. Another thing is, where will you put the contingency, the backfall plan? Thank you.
Carolina, thank you very much for this question. Luckily, it doesn't have to do with the cultural aspects this time. So I can answer this question much more neutral from maybe a global perspective, but I guess there are differences. We cannot ignore the differences because as I understood your question well, you said, well, which part is the most difficult or maybe the most important or challenging? I think that the most difficult part is beyond this plan. So beyond this plan. And when it comes to beyond this plan, it has to do with the question of how to create value, how to communicate the value, how to deliver the value, and how to understand the value. So on top, the first question is, what is value? For who? What time, when, and which price, which efforts, and that's the most difficult. Because if you understand all the answers to that question very well, then all these elements also are difficult, of course. Because you would like some companies, they would start with the objectives, which may be not unrealistic, but maybe their superiors said that they have to do it. So they are forced. Vision, yeah. So on top, the company, in what way is there a vision? Is there a mission? So why are they exist? What's the reason that they would like to add a value? So, in some way, the most difficult questions are on top and on beyond this plan. It doesn't say that this is just a checklist where you need to fill in every single element. But a lot of companies, they have this structure for so many years, and there will be no big difference in it because these topics will address most of their daily routine. And this plan can be from a short-term perspective, but also a long-term perspective. And when it comes to beyond this plan, there is also this part called missing, where we need to have the knowledge, the elements, the facts. Without that, we cannot make a plan. So without the analysis, which is beyond this plan, the plan leads to nothing. Because then we couldn't write everything on paper. So the more knowledgeable you are, and the more experience you have gained, maybe it will become a little bit much more easily to make the plan. Thank you very much.
Yes. Oh, now it's getting hotter. We have some more.
This is not 7%. These are the so-called 7 P's. So the P from process, the P from price. And I give this the 4 place, and I tell you why. This is what we call an instrument. This is what we call an instrument. And the instruments are useful if you think about your objectives. So without instruments, you cannot reach your objectives. It's the same as a screwdriver. If you have a screwdriver which is an instrument, it's useless if you do not know how to screw. So maybe your objectives is top number one, and the instruments will be next. Thinking.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. You didn't mention your name. What's your name?
My name is Vicky.
Vicky.
Vicky, thank you very much for this. Terima kasih banyak.
Anybody else? Yeah, please. Getting warmer here. Good.
Hello, my name is Regina. So I want to ask, people is always changing, right? So how can we as a marketer know what our consumer wants in the next maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years? How can we fulfill what consumers want? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elena. This is also a very good question, of course. When we study the structure of the plan, we need to think about the time lead. And the time lead can be between, let's say, shorter than 1 year, or maybe between 1 and 3 years, or over 3 years. In other words, we can think about this plan for 1 year, midterm, or long term. Companies who have to deal with a lot of uncertainties. Think about companies in the oil industry, where they have to deal with policies, need to think about big investments to get the oil. And I think we need oil because the prices were increased. So the midterm plan or the short-term plan for these companies won't help because there are a lot of uncertainties. Uncertainties in terms of how much to invest, where to find it, who will be involved from a government point of view, and how long will it take to convince them that we may do it or we get these allowances. So a short-term plan will have people who worked on these plans, but in a long-term plan, you're right, people may change, new management may come in, and then maybe the long-term plan should be revised again. Thank you.
I've seen 2 other hands raised. Oh, yeah. We have 2 more, right? Okay, good. Thank you, Ibu Dia.
Thank you. My name is Viola, and I have a question that what if the marketing plan it doesn't work? Also, we have concern about the criteria, about the content, but it doesn't work and it doesn't run well. And what should we do? Where's the wrong part? Thank you.
This is Rowena? Viola. Thank you very much for this question, Viola. I think this is a good question as well. Very often companies, they have this plan maybe for 1 year and they have their objectives. And an objective could be increase sales by 5% to 1 million within 1 year with value XYZ, or a product or service or brand or idea or event. So this is something we can measure. The increase of sales by 5% to 1 million rupiah within 1 year with value X, Y, Z. And your question is, if we don't reach this, the plan still is on paper. Your plan should be controlled. And the plan, controlling the plan, means that you control the plan frequently. So if we control a part, we can control the part by having maybe the month over here, January, February to December, and we have our plan and we have our actual. So when it comes to a total, our plan is measured not at the end of 1 year, because then there's nothing to do. So the control part starts day by day. So I compare my plan maybe each month or maybe each week, and some companies they do it even by day. Companies such as Carrefour, big companies in supermarket chains, they will do this day by day. And companies in consultancy will do this week by week, or maybe month by month. So then they compare their plan, and this is mentioned in the plan, and it should be spread over all the months, maybe on average about 0.8 million each month, on average. And then I compare my plan with